Beginning our reading from Saving Graces, Dark Ripples, Part 2. Chapter 1. Hot and cold. As always, in the space between the final seconds, Greg makes a wish for Sherlock to stay safe. In the summer of 2006, a dangerous heat wave overtakes London, holding the city in a steaming grip for interminable weeks. Everyone is on edge, tensions run high, violent crime spikes upward. In D.I. Greg Lestrade's opinion, it's far too much effort to go to killing anyone in heat like this. Personally, he feels drained and limp, every last one of his 43 years dragging at him like an individual weight. "Could you open a window, maybe?" he asks. No. "Why not?" He knows he sounds petulant, pleading even, but he doesn't much care. He hears similar childish tones from the man before him on a regular basis. At the least, he hopes for some kind of explanation, a justification for the curt refusal, but nothing further is forthcoming. The dark, tousled head remains bent over the file of photos, intent in silent scrutiny. Looking around with a sigh, Greg finds it almost hard to believe that it's been a little over a year since he first stepped into this cramped, cluttered Marylebone flat. In that time, it hasn't changed much. Perhaps the stacks of books and papers have grown a bit out of control, and some of the improvised shelving and second-hand furniture has been replaced with pieces of marginally better quality. The chair he's sitting in at the moment, for example, is a wide, square, mid-century modern piece, battered into comfortable shambles. Usually, Greg likes settling himself into this seat, relaxing as he watches the brilliant mind of Sherlock Holmes at work. Today, however, the dark leather is hot and clingy. It draws a huff of discomfort from him as he squirms, trying to peel his sweaty dress shirt from his back. "If you're so very desperate for fresh air, Lestrade, there's always the shipping warehouse," comments Sherlock, not looking up. "No, Sherlock, I'm not bringing you on the scene, not after what you did last time. But these photographs are woefully inadequate." "They're what you get. You think it's easy, bringing this stuff to you under the table, sneaking you in past the tape, all to have you drawing attention like you did. If I get sacked, where will you be then?" Greg juts his jaw in stifled frustration. "Besides, it's hardly better there. Stinks of fish something awful." Sherlock rolls his eyes as he looks up. "Fine. You're looking for a man, average height, muscular build, whose left leg is a prosthetic, the lower portion of it anyway. He lives within a 3-street radius of the warehouse and has a day job involving paint. Automotive, probably. He didn't know the victim. It was a paid hit. The wife was upset he'd cheated on her." "See, you didn't need access to tell me that. Wasn't so hard, was it?" "It was hard enough you couldn't figure it out," he asserts. "Truly, Lestrade, did they teach you anything about critical observation at Hendon? At least 2/3 of this was utter child's play." Frowning, Greg stands and takes back his case file. "Right, then it's a good thing I've got a child on hand asking to play." "Go on, get your idiot sergeants on it," Sherlock tells him airily, waving a dismissive hand. "Good luck finding an excuse for suddenly knowing who to have them search for. Again. You can keep trying to play it off to them as if you're solving things on your own, but don't forget, you need me." "If you only knew, Sherlock, just how much you need me," he thinks a few minutes later, as he stumps down 3 airless flights of stairs to emerge onto a sun-baked street that doesn't feel like much improvement. "Then you'd change your bloody tune." Certainly, he's owed some gratitude from Sherlock for bringing him in on investigations at all. It may be to Greg's own benefit to have assistance on the tougher cases, but it fills a need for Sherlock that seems to keep his insatiable mind from consuming itself. Beyond the thin smattering of private work he's recently drummed up from his strange website, helping the police in solving serious crimes gives him a concrete motivation to stay off the drug habit with which he'd flirted for more than 6 years. In a way, one might say that it was a lifesaver, Greg letting him into his work. But beyond that, there's another reason that Greg is deserving of thanks. A very, very good reason. Unfortunately, he'll never get those thanks. Sherlock can never be told, nor would he likely believe, that Greg's been saving his life for nearly 3 decades. It's New Year's Eve, and Greg and Nadia Lestrade are hosting a gathering to ring in 2007. Usually it's Nadia's best friends, Libby and Iris, who organize all the parties Greg gets dragged out to. This time, Nadia has taken on the duty herself, as Iris is traveling abroad for work. It doesn't make too much difference to Greg either way, but with the event taking place in his own home, he has the opportunity to invite some of his own friends rather than mingle solely in Nadia's circle. So they've got a packed house. By 11:30, Pauline and Gwen and the others from Vienna Catering are laughing loud in the dining room, circling the table in its gorgeous assortment of nibbles, while Libby and the rest of the old girl gang have set up camp in the kitchen because that's where the drinks are. Various significant others hover around the house, and Nadia flutters happily between rooms, the elegant and ever-capable hostess. Meanwhile, Greg's enjoying a comfortable spot on the sofa, listening to his Sergeant Oliver Berkeley relating the story of their team's dramatic arrest of the Braithwaite brothers nearly 7 years past. Somehow the story has got a lot funnier between then and now. It could be explainable by the number of drinks everyone's had, or maybe it's to do with Ollie's style of storytelling. At any rate, Greg's old teammate Frank Drake is red-faced from laughing, as is Frank's boyfriend, and Molly Hooper in the recliner across the room is leaning into her date's side, a wide grin spread across her pixie-like face. So, here he comes, before any of us can get out another word, crashing straight through the door, wheezes Ollie, clutching his amused wife's hand while gesturing widely with his almost emptied glass. As the assembled audience laughs on cue, familiar arms slide around Greg from behind the sofa. "Oh, yes, that sounds like my husband, all right," Nadia says near his ear, chuckling. "Always ready to leap before he looks." Greg reaches up for her and tilts his head backwards to nuzzle his hair briefly against her cheek. "Yeah, all right. I admit I got a little carried away there," he grins as his friends laugh. "But we got the buggers, that's what counts." While Frank takes over to begin an amusing tale of his own, Nadia kisses Greg's jaw, and he feels something solid drop into the front pocket of his shirt. "You left your mobile in the kitchen, and it started making noise," she tells him quietly, patting it into his chest. "It better not be work. You're 3 sheets to the wind." "Nah, they know I'm off. I'm not that drunk." "Whatever you say, love," she laughs, pointedly removing his hand from where it's found its way to grope quite happily at her blouse. Sorry. Something occurs to him, a question he'd been meaning to ask her all evening, ever since being introduced to Libby's boyfriend Ben, a loud and distinctly portly fellow. "Hey, by the way, I thought you said Lib was dating some bloke from the gym? That's not this guy she brought, is it?" "Oh, no, that didn't work out. Look, I'm going to get back." Nadia gives him another quick kiss and glides away to rejoin another group of guests. Greg thumbs his phone open, taking another healthy swig of his drink as he reads a series of received messages from the past 5 minutes. "You have Eastern European family members by marriage, yes? Ukraine? SH. I need help deciphering a term I've overheard. SH. You're of no use to me if you won't even answer your phone, Lestrade. SH. Greg feels his lips twitch into something near a frown. He's never really gone into detail about his personal life with Sherlock. He much prefers to keep his worlds safely separate. But he supposes it's no surprise that his marriage has been the target of Sherlock's deductive reasoning. Shaking his head, he sets down his glass and taps out a reply text. "Romania, actually. What are you up to now, Sherlock?" The response is immediate, a second series of messages appearing one after another and making his phone beep repeatedly. Beside him, Ollie glances over, raising an eyebrow. "Damn, I was hoping for Ukrainian. It's always something, SH. There wouldn't happen to be any Ukrainians in attendance at your party, would there, SH? No, never mind. It's hardly worth asking if everyone is as drunk as you, SH. Now Greg is definitely frowning. "Everything okay, boss?" Ollie asks him, leaning over to speak without interrupting the story being told the group. This one is a contribution from Colin, Molly's current steady date, a cherubic blonde who works in a funeral parlor. "Yeah, it's fine. Quit calling me boss. We're off duty. Look, I'll be right back. You want me to bring you a Lorne another drink?" On his way to the loo, he composes another text, feeling slightly indignant that one missed letter has put Sherlock in agreement with his wife's teasing. "I've got every right to be. It's New Year's, and you haven't answered my question." This time, the reply isn't quick. Greg relieves himself and washes his hands. When he's finished, his phone still hasn't beeped, so he writes again. "Whatever it is, can't you look it up? Did you break your laptop again or something?" Again, no response. He's still standing in the bathroom, studying himself in the mirror and wondering if he looks more soused than he feels when he feels a familiar change in the air around him, that of oxygen becoming a distant and inaccessible commodity. In the reflection, he sees his eyes widen abruptly, spots of color flush his cheeks and his jaw drops open. His neck tenses and stands out in cords, muscles working in a struggle for air, and he knocks his phone to the floor as he tips forwards to tightly grasp the edges of the sink. "Whoa, that's a first, seeing it," he thinks disjointedly, staring as the image of his own gasping face begins to fade. In its place, a dark wash of color rises up and spreads, shimmering iridescent at its edges, and within it Greg sees a tall rack of pots and pans. It's a commercial kitchen, apparently, bright and cluttered and bustling with activity. Sherlock has somehow hidden himself in a crouch behind the rack, wedged in between the chrome bars and the wall, peering out between two of the heavy stock pots lined up along one of the lower shelves. Greg's taken aback by the noise of it, in contrast to his quiet bathroom, the clang and scrape of metal utensils, and the unintelligible gibberish of called orders and instructions in broken English, and, yes, in a heavy, foreign tongue. Ukrainian, presumably. "What the fuck are you doing here, Sherlock?" he thinks, pulling his view up and out of the cramped hiding place. After a moment, he's able to figure out what has Sherlock's attention. Near the back door of the busy kitchen, three big, burly men are conferring over a book or a ledger of some kind. Greg hates to make assumptions, but they really don't strike him as the law-abiding sort. Clearly, Sherlock is in danger if he's discovered. Greg isn't certain how that danger will come until he sees one of the kitchen help approaching the pot rack. With a speed born from years of such snap decisions, Greg throws himself at the young man. He settles himself behind the man's eyes just in time to push and prevent him from pulling out the stock pot that hides Sherlock's face. Instead, he turns aside and takes one from the edge of the rack. At the corner of Greg's vision, Sherlock flinches and huddles lower, but Greg knows he hasn't been seen. With that, there's a soft rush of air into Greg's lungs, and the vision of the kitchen rapidly fades and recedes. He'd much rather stay close until the point at which Sherlock finds his opportunity to sneak out of there, but he has no choice, and he's learned to trust the ripples. If he can breathe again, it means he's done his duty. He fantasizes for just a second about sending off a scathing text. "Get your arse out of wherever you are, you complete fucking idiot!" The look of utter shock that he imagines would cross Sherlock's face would be so sweet. But instead, he simply splashes water on his face, retrieves his phone from the floor, composes himself, and returns to his party. Frank hails him as he enters the now crowded living room. "Where have you been, Greg? You've almost missed the countdown." Nadia crosses to his side, holding two champagne flutes, and she hands him one. "Everything okay, love?" she asks, and when he smiles and nods, her lips tighten slightly. Apparently she's learned to guess from something in his expression when he's been caught up in a ripple, or an episode, as she began terming them years ago. As far as she knows, her husband simply suffers some unexplained, unpredictable form of severe asthma. "I'm fine," he assures her, reaching out to stroke her cheek. Then there's counting and shouting and friends crowding close in celebration. And so begins another year. As always, in the space between the final seconds, Greg makes a wish for Sherlock to stay safe.